Welcome back to Real Talk, the show where we sit down with real investors doing real deals and uncover what's actually happening in today's market. Today, I'm joined by someone who's building real momentum in such a short amount of time, Salvador Hidalgo. Even though he's based out of California, he's consistently doing deals across San Antonio and Dallas Fort Worth in Texas, using strategies like seller finance, wholesaling, and innovations. He got his start through the Recca Brothers real estate program, and it's been a little over a year, and he's built an operation that's actually producing results. Salvador, for everyone who's meeting you for the first time, can you give us a short intro about who you are, the markets you work in, and what your business looks like today?
Oh yes, awesome. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Salvador, and I started the wholesaling journey the last August in 2024. I had joined the Recca Brothers mentorship, and 90 days into the first the first 3 months of learning how to wholesale real estate, I closed my first three deals in 1 week, and from there, it was a proven system that this is a where to be growing in and then actually closing more deals. I'm located in California, and I'm honestly excited to see what's coming on in the next few months with the Recca Brothers as our new partners in the CRM.
Amazing. So obviously you've been running your operations remotely from California, right? But doing deals in San Antonio and Dallas Fort Worth. So what exactly are you seeing in Texas market right now that most of the new investors are not actually realizing?
A lot of the over the last 12 months, I have seen a tremendous market shift, at least in the Texas market, on all of the properties being either over 90 days on market, which that brings the investors to pay a little bit less money than what they're used to, at least as into last year, you know. So right now, I guess what any new investor coming into the real estate market, we need to consider that we need to be really, really reserved on our offers. That way, when you do get it on their contract, you're 100% sure know that this is going to be a deal that investors going to pick up quick.
Nice. And was real estate investing was something which you always wanted to do, or like how exactly did you decide, you know what, this is a career which I want to pursue right now?
Yes, it wasn't a career that I had planned in pursuing. Everybody, I'm sure, has the American dream to buy a property, either for investment or for themselves. I was in a completely different industry. I come from the trucking industry, which I was able to grow my company and be successful in it. It was just really stressful for me. It only allowed me to be like asleep 4 hours a day, so
Yeah.
it was really time consuming and really draining, and I was actually looking for something more where I can control more of my time in the sense where we can schedule this meeting and I can actually be present at the time we agreed on. With the other industry that I come from, it was not always like that. So it allows me to manage my time at a better way, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to hear your story, and I think you made the right move coming into the real estate space because it seems like you're doing amazing over here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm actually really excited about every day making those calls and getting uncomfortable to speak to a new seller because there's a lot to learn with a new seller. Every seller, it's new lessons and a new story to hear.
Yeah. So obviously, when you first started getting into space, right? Like, did you ever felt, you know what, like talking with sellers, obviously, then after that, connecting with the right buyers, did you ever felt this was a little bit hard to get grasp hold on, or was it like a smooth sailing for you?
And in the beginning, I did make a few mistakes. One of the things, though, I have always been able to get comfortable with people on the phone with a short amount of time. And even on my daily tasks that I do, I go out to the market and I just start a small, short conversation just to get myself uncomfortable. And next time I do pick up the phone, I feel like I'm running into this person on the other side of the phone, like if I'm in the market, you know, for example,
Mm,
it's just having the short high and buy, but we build rapport, you know?
nice. And I think based on like our conversation before, I mean, this is way before the podcast. Like you did mention, like you are doing seller finance, wholesaling, novations. Like, how do you decide which strategy is the best fit for a deal when it comes to, let's say, talking with a seller, or let's say when dealing with a particular seller?
Yeah, so all the options are could be laid on the table, but you don't want to disclose all the options instantly. You want to do as it's best for the seller's problems. So one of the things we really have to focus on is on fixing every seller's problems or what they're looking to get aside from the price. So in a lot of cases, the property might be in a better condition. So definitely cash is not gonna work. They have a mortgage on there, so definitely finance is not gonna work. So you have to really work the numbers on each exit strategy. The best works for the seller and obviously for your team.
Nice. And for our audience who might get a little bit confused regarding these different terms, could you maybe like give an example of like, let's say, you know what, I'm doing a particular deal right now. I was supposed to do wholesaling, but I feel like, Novations might be a better fit for this. Could you maybe
Yeah.
break it down for us?
Yeah, so the property I just assigned today, we started off as cash, and through the time, I mean, I did a few walkthroughs, a few contractors walked through it. It didn't necessarily met the 70-30 rule, which most investors want to profit 30%. So through the process of that, we got a few offers that were not necessarily meeting our asking price. But I knew since the beginning that this property was not going to be for any type of investor who does fix and flips. The property was like in okay condition, where I understood that a renter or landlord would be able to take on this property and rent it off the back. It's just that you have to look for the buyers that are looking for what you have and not necessarily try to sell what you have to anybody because it's not really going to fit everybody.
Hmm.
Um, we had a few walkthroughs. I had an end buyer that had he wanted the property. We assigned it to him, and we saw a little bit lack of performance through submitting MD, signing the document on time, which then put us through cancel that buyer
Hmm.
and just pretty much eliminate something that's going to bring you worries or that is going to possibly bring your contract to completely not close with you to pretty much just go away. So we don't want to let go of any properties you have under contract. You want to pretty much, like I said, bring out the exit strategy that's best going to work with the seller and the best is going to work for any investor. So what I did is I turned around. I pretty much told that investor to go away. We didn't want to work with them, and I continued to do some marketing. So through the investors who were trying to get information from me, I was uh, really straightforward with them with the information I provided that it was not necessarily going to meet the 70-30 rule. So
Hmm.
that allowed for some investors to back away and allowed for some investors to come in and be like, okay, I like this as a rental. We had the idea of turning it into an ovation because I came back to the seller. I told them, hey, we're going to have to close maybe within 60 to 90 days, but I can give you $12,000 more additional to what you already have. And they kind of liked the idea. They kind of didn't because they were looking for a fast close.
Hmm.
So what I did is I sent them the novation agreement so that we can put it on the market. But also, my first step was to continue marketing to uh, any renter or landlord buyers that were in the area. So 3 day later, 3 to 4 days later, after the first investor fell out, I found another investor getting it assigned today, and we're potentially going to get a EMD submitted within the next 2 hours. So always have grit and make sure that whatever you have in your hands, don't drop the ball. Continue to play with it. And the worst that can happen is that you don't close this deal, but you learn how to use your tools, which is seller finance, Novation, cash, or even sub to whichever one would fit best to not let this deal go. In the past, I've had held a deal for 6 months because I had title issues. I went through three different title companies, like five different attorneys, and the last title company and the last attorney worked together to be able to fix that issue. So there's always going to be a solution, but don't let the first no be your answer for the rest of that deal.
Got it. This is amazing, actually. And obviously, since you have also started in the real estate game, I know a lot of youngsters, obviously, they want to get into the real estate market, right? But a lot of people do quit like 6, 7 months in because they don't see the instant success which they were hoping for. What would you say is some of the common trends, or let's say the common mistakes you see people making from time after time?
The most often I see is that, especially with the starting investor, because it happened to me, I kind of felt the same way in the first 90 days, right? Why? Because we don't really know how to execute what we're trying to communicate. So what I was doing, it was I was getting properties under contract at a higher price that no investor wanted to get, So if you really want to be successful, you have to submit the offer. Not that the seller necessarily suspecting, because the seller's always going to expect the highest,
Hmm.
but what's fair enough for the both of you to be able to make some profit and get it to the close table. So I felt like giving up in the beginning because I was getting properties under contract, but I couldn't assign them. So what I ended up doing, just being conservative with my numbers, making sure that my offers are right, and that's gonna get you to the closing table to close not just one deal but multiple. You know.
Nice. I think this is a pretty good insight. I think a lot of youngsters who want to get into the investing game, I think they'll get a lot of value out of this content which we are shooting right now. So, uh, I know you have, so obviously, I know you've been in the market for some time. Obviously, you are also a closer control client. You've been using the system. What was the system you were using beforehand? Like, what made you switch to closer control?
The other CRM that I come from, it's called XLEADS, which is another Go High level account. A few of the things that I didn't really appreciate it on that end was that I was having difficulty communicating with support. I was having difficulty using the automations that were not necessarily uh, going under quality control to make sure that these automations are bringing results. I guess the automations just existed, and they were up to us to be able to pretty much uh, use them to a best of our knowledge,
Hmm.
But I mean, looking through closing control and like other people using closing control and what I've seen is that support it's really really good with you guys. You guys stay on top of our questions. The automations are proven by the Recca Brothers themselves who wholesale deals, which that means that whatever problems they were having and whatever problems that most wholesalers have, they were fixing those issues.
Hmm.
So one of the gains that I do see is the automations, the AI follow up, and pretty much that it is able to not let any lead fall through any gaps. Which, in my eyes, I'm like, I feel like I have let go of some leads because I didn't follow up so much, or we have like maybe 5K contacts on our CRM that we don't necessarily gonna go click one by one. But what the CRM and closer control does is that it allows you to control such a big quantity of leads, with just a click of a button, and then it does itself. So
Hmm.
I gain some time back pretty much.
That's amazing to hear. And I'm glad to hear that obviously you're getting a lot of your time back. But you mentioned you have like over 5,000 leads, right? So what would you say is your primary marketing channel? Like, are you doing a lot of like PPL, PPCs? Like, how exactly are you getting most of your leads?
Yeah, awesome. So, initially, I mean, I guess every wholesaler goes through this where you try different softwares to see what works and what doesn't. I have been doing that. I have been burning a few dollars to be able to find out what works the best for me because another thing I did realize is that every market doesn't necessarily is going to be successful with SMS. You have to try maybe email or cold calling or PPC. Why? Because every city is different. Every people on the city are different. So you really have to pay attention what's working on that area. What I'm currently using is I bought county data. I get a list every day from two counties. What I do is I put it on a email campaign, drip campaign, and an SMS drip campaign,
Hmm.
blast it all, and we just try to get in contact with the people that reply either stop, because sometimes they could say stop because
Yeah.
it's like I'm getting a random
Yeah.
message from someone wanting to buy my house, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not gonna pick up the call and sit down with you and make that phone call. So anybody who does respond to our messages, we give them a call. We make sure that if we're the best fit, we'll try to work something out with their property. So right now it's just cold calling data from the county and deal machine.
Nice. Well, this is pretty good. I think you have like the perfect, you could say, real estate stack.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really good, really good. I like it right now.
Amazing, Sal. If you don't mind, I know it's been not extremely long since you started in the real estate game. Do you have any funny stories you want to maybe share with the audience regarding any deals which you have gone through, or maybe a deal which have not worked out in your favor?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was on the early days, like probably like I was like 2 months in, and I had this property under contract, which inside of it was living. I mean, I would say boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were under the usage of drugs, you know.
Mm.
And we were looking to assign this property. I mean, we got a few investors to go in there and things like that. And some random day, the seller calls me. Is like, "Hey, I called the county because I wanted to pay my taxes, but they said that my home was sold at auction because I didn't pay my taxes." So I was like, "What?" Like that was a little bit crazy for me because I wouldn't expect a home that I had under contract and marketing for to be sold at auction because the seller did not pay the taxes. But that was a rookie mistake. I should have called the county, see what was going on with the property, ran title probably sooner. The only thing is that sometimes we prefer to run title
Mhm.
uh, after we already signed the property. That way we don't get charged that extra $100 for running the title or whatnot. Some companies do charge, some companies don't, but the companies I was working with, they do. So I considered that, and it was just really funny because my adrenaline to close that deal was like, okay, let's call this buyer, get this person in here, and it ended up being like sold to somebody else who was not none of my buyers, which I think it was really funny, you know.
So I think that's like a mistake which I think a lot of people would make, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting these type of things to happen. Right? Like obviously, like a seller not paying the property taxes and then the property going up to auction. So yeah,
Yeah. It was a rookie mistake, but we learn from all of those. You know, like sometimes we can see those things as a bad situation, but I like to see it as a win because we want a lesson from that, and which I would have. It's pretty much preparing me for the future and any future deals that can be similar. You know.
nice. So it seems like you have a ton of sorry. So it seems like you have like a ton of experience as well as ton of value to share. What would you say is your one piece of advice you would maybe like to share with our audience?
One piece of advice, I feel like honestly having grit with these deals because um, you don't necessarily plant a lead and then expect it to grow and give you fruit, right? Because it doesn't happen that quick. Some deals happen within 30 days, some of them happen 60, 90s, and like I said, 6 months, you know. Through the time of wanting to give up on that deal that I held for 6 months, I mean, it came a lot of like overthinking, a lot of doubt. I didn't think I had the faith in me that I was going to close it. But I always knew that if I don't let this drop and continue to have perseverance through these issues that were thrown at me because it was just multiple, right?
Hmm.
So I never let go of the deal. I always try to take it to the closing table. And with that deal initially, it was cashed, and then I turned it into an ovation, which with cash I was gonna make like $6,000, $7,000, or maybe even 10. I don't recall exactly. So we put it on the market, and we ended up closing it at a 28K profit,
Yeah.
and after expenses and attorney fees that I had to deal with. But it's always just having grit to not let go of your deal, you know.
Hmm. I think that's an amazing advice. I think having that grit actually takes a person a long way and not
Yeah.
giving up. Yeah,
Exactly. Believe in yourselves, guys. Believe in yourselves with all your heart. Pray and believe that God is on your side. You know, that's what really matters.
amazing. Salvador, I appreciate you a lot, especially for coming in and being transparent about your journey. A lot of people watching this are exactly where you were a year ago, and I think hearing your story is really going to help them get their first win. So, before we wrap up, where can people reach you, or let's say follow along with what exactly you're building?
Yes, I haven't really been as active with my social media, which I'm planning to do so. Just a little bit, not necessarily a camera guy where I'm recording myself and through the process, but I've been told even by the Recca Brothers that I should start to record everything I do because I am learning a lot, but also people can learn a lot from me, which at the
Exactly.
end of the day, I would like to provide value anywhere I go, any groups I'm in, or any relationships that we establish. We want to provide value because that's the only way that we're gonna go to the next level. You know, helping each other
Exactly.
out.
Exactly. I think this is awesome. Thank you so much again, Sal, for being here. And thanks to everyone who's watching. This is Real Talk, the show where we sit down with real investors, doing real deals, and uncover what's actually happening in today's market. So tune in next week where we're going to coming up with new guests and new insights. Thank you so much, Sal.
All right, you're welcome.